for me, watching that, the beginning of that, what ended up being a knockdown, drag-out fight between Brittany and Jax, it started in front of their son.
Yeah.
And that made me really, really sad. And then watching him picking up Cruz and kissing on him and loving on him, and seeing Cruz was pushing away. Like, his body language was, he was trying to get away.
He's scared of him.
Yeah. I think it's, again, we always say we're on the side of the women, but we're always on the side of the child. And his body language said so much.
Welcome to Cocktails and Gossip, the podcast where we drink cocktails, but you better believe we're going to spill the tea. We chat reality TV, celebrity blinds, and the hottest tea from BravoandCocktails.com. And as always, it's all alleged and just for fun. We do not verify our blinds. I'm B.
And I'm Amanda. Let's get into this week's tea.
What's up, cocktailers? Amanda, we've had a week.
Hi, cocktailers. Hi, B. We have been getting, I love it when the tea just flows in and people have just felt like yapping this week.
Is it spring fever, or is this like Bravo's having a surge of stuff?
I mean, that makes sense, right? Because there's new shows. We have
upfronts coming, which we have said a million times on the pod, like things that could be announced. So this wife swap email we got, we'll get to that later. Let's start.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know where. We do know where to start because we make markers for ourselves and notes because we're both scatters.
Let's start with Beverly Hills. But you guys, we do have a ton about, we've got a lot. Just stick with us. So first, let's start with Beverly Hills. The subject is interesting, and the email said, this West Coast housewife who recently wished her former co-star was a bit more interesting found herself receiving a friend of contract for the new season.
So they're talking about Erika Jayne. I posted this publicly, Bravo and Cocktails, which I do for a variety of reasons, but one of the reasons is it's good bait to have sources or insiders or people in the know to reach out and be like, that's nonsense. Or, well, so what we got was a source reached out and they said, and this is the source who told us, and we've discussed this, that they gave Dorit an ultimatum. So she wasn't offered a friend contract. We heard that Dorit last season was actually like going to be given her walking papers, but they told her, listen, bring it. Talk about your divorce or your split. Now this is Dorit, or you're out. And it worked. She's had her best season she's ever had. She's created drama. This could be the same tactic that they're using with Erika Jayne regarding her lawsuit. So we reposted the cocktail pod that Amanda and I recorded back in March 2024, I believe, where we did a deep dive on her lawsuits. I reposted the LA Times article. This has all been out there, but there was enough distance from when it was out there to when they filmed to when it came out, and the Dorit and Kyle and Mauricio and PK distraction of it all allowed for Erika to somehow talk about wallpaper all season. So I think that it should have been filmed for this season. For whatever reason, they gave her a break. Maybe they figured she had a few rough seasons. Maybe the fans weren't demanding it. But the reality is that we get, okay, maybe you can't talk about specifics. It is a legal matter, but she can certainly allude to it. She can discuss the stress she's under, can talk about some of it. And if she's unwilling to, I feel like they're saying, well, then you can be a friend of. She does have a fan base, especially a lot of my gays reached out and they were like, we will revolt if Erika Jayne is not on the show. So that, all these different pieces that I may not immediately come to my mind. She does stir the pot. She is a great addition. I wouldn't want to see Erika go, but I do think that threatening her with a friend contract, if she doesn't bring it, she needs the check, especially with looming lawsuits. So I think she's going to have to figure something out and give them something so that they don't go that way. But I certainly think the threat is there. I don't think that email is nonsense.
Yeah. And the friends of make less money as well, correct? Yeah.
Well, it has to be an incentive to get her to talk about it, which is, okay, then make less money if you want to just continue evading the...
Right.
True.
Yeah. And I think she needs it because even that's the crazy thing about just the legal system, we've said it here before, is anybody can sue anybody for anything. And so whether or not she is guilty or the people have a case, she's still having to pay some pretty hefty lawyer fees to defend herself. So that's where I was asking about the money, because I'm sure she probably needs it. I did a quick check on both of her cases because I was curious. So you'll remember the Marco case, which is one you were just talking about. There were two designers. One of them is suing her in California, and Marco is the other one who filed his suit in Florida. Marco's case is for $300,000. Erika's lawyer did not file his motion to dismiss the case correctly, which means that as of now, the case is going through.
Oh my God. That's...
Yeah.
What kind of like Cracker Jack box attorney is she hired?
I think that's the problem when you use like a friend, right? Versus somebody you've hired, and she was quote unquote romantically linked allegedly to the lawyer whose name is like James or something. I'm forgetting his name. And then the other case, I guess that designer is suing in California, and he's suing for more than $18 million. And if you guys will remember from that deep dive we did, the designers were charged with wire fraud and aggravated identity theft as a result of Erika calling Amex and saying they charged $900,000 to her Amex. Because remember, like Secret Service was involved, like all of that.
And this is squarely on her because this has nothing to do with Tom. These are her fashions.
Tom is the one who had the Secret Service connections.
But in other words, this isn't...
No, this has nothing to do...
Right, like she's aware. She can't play the, oh my God, I'm not a lawyer. How did I know? These are her fashions. Now, could it be that these people told her they would do it for half the cost and then upcharged her? Of course, that's why there's court of laws. That's why she's innocent until proven guilty. But there's a lot of smoke here. And
yeah. So then there's another case, and this is from the bankruptcy trustee of Tom Girardi's bankruptcy, because bankruptcy trustees, it's their job to figure out where the assets are and then decide how to pay out for all of the people that have claims against or money owed against that person. This person, Alyssa Miller, who is the trustee, is seeking $24 million from Erika, claiming that she knowingly benefited from her estranged husband's illegal actions. That case is expected to go to trial sometime after June. So a lot on her plate.
24 plus 18 is a lot of million.
Yeah.
Plus 300,000.
Yeah.
And here's my thing, Amanda, and here's why I believe my source. That's a big storyline. Production, Bravo, they're not going to turn away from that. And it's involving designers, and it's a whole thing. They're not going to turn away from that unless the talent is saying, yeah, but I can't talk about that. And they also can't ignore it. They did it for a season for her, and they gave her grace because she had all those rough seasons, but it's sorry.
I'm actually quite surprised that not only Bravo, but like the other ladies didn't go in a little bit harder after Erika with all of this. Because I also, though, I'm questioning what this bankruptcy trustee is doing, because I think we all know Erika doesn't have $24 million. So the money has gone somewhere. And so then if Erika ends up having to file bankruptcy because she loses this case or whatever, who knows? And I do think there does seem to be a line Bravo seems to draw when it comes to some of these more civil cases. They don't tend to talk about them as much as they do more of the criminal or like a divorce proceeding. That's just my own theory.
So here's the thing. Maybe they're like, okay, we completely understand that you can't talk about it, but as a result, you don't have an interesting enough storyline.
Yeah.
You've rebooted your career. You've wallpapered your house. You've sat in the fancy interior design studio. Unless you're going to have a new boyfriend that we get to know or join Bose on her fertility journey in the late 40s, early 50s, then do you want to have a baby?
Yeah.
She needs some.
I do. I think that it could be just more of that. Like you had your redemption arc last season where you're doing so much better. And now, unless you can talk about this other court stuff, we just don't see it. So I guess we'll see. But I think it'll be an interesting summer for her, regardless, whether or not we end up getting to see it. Let's talk about Atlanta. I'm very curious to get your thoughts. Did you find it gross, shocking, or funny when Drew just blatantly asked Britt if she's ever, quote unquote, sold it, like sold the kitty?
I mean, I think both, but I'm more than anything, I'm so glad it's behind us. I really could not continue to talk about, I hope it's behind us. But speaking of Drew, a lot of Drew's drama is her own doing. She's lying and then saying she's joking about being Michael Jordan's cousin.
Oh my God, seriously.
I'm with Angela, like are we in high school? That even, elementary. To the news that she somehow recognized and received a DM from the owner of the penis in the explicit photo of Britt. I screamed when Britt asked if Drew sucked his dick too. It's impossible not to feel for her though regarding Ralph, because that guy, whatever Drew is, he like multiplies it but 10 times. He really sees himself as a hero, a victim. He doesn't care that the courts unsealed the divorce documents that would make his cheating, his lying, his financial abuse public. Him celebrating after the courts say he's allowed to stay in the marital home. The whole thing is so cringe that I like facilitate, whatever that word is.
Facilitate, yeah.
Her irking me and then being like, oh, but God, she's got to deal with him.
I'm there with you. I actually feel both, but watching this, I'm like, I think Drew, and this is going to be a really strong statement from me, guys. You guys know I'm not a really big fan of Drew's. I think she's lying. I think that if Ralph is the one who is pushing for the documents to be unsealed, but Drew is pushing for them to be sealed, and she's also talking about all the shit that Ralph has done on national television, she's clearly got something to hide. And you guys know, B and I, we always err towards believing women. I don't think Drew's that credible of a person. I think we caught her lying about a lot of things. And that doesn't mean I'm on Ralph's side either. Let's make that real clear, because I agree with you. He seems like a real mess too. And like, I also watch him and I'm like, why are you so proud of the fact that you haven't moved into your own home and started? Be more of a man. I don't know. Step up. Like, start building your separate life for your kids.
Here's my question. Do we think that Drew has exaggerated the proof she has on Ralph? Or do we think that he has very similar proof on her? So he's unseal it because I'm a liar, I'm a cheater, I'm a this, but so are you.
I think it's both. I think she's she's exaggerated some of the stuff that she has talked about. I think that there was probably some cheating going on too. Because you guys remember right now, I'll talk about this in a second, but I did look to try to go back to the divorce filings and I was able to find articles, but I can't find any of the documents anymore, which is really strange. But also, I'm not a lawyer.
Maybe she hired a Brit's person to scrub the internet.
Maybe. But when they filed, they didn't file with fault. But they said, Drew specifically said, like, that she reserves the right to change that position later. But Georgia is a fault state. So I just wonder if there's something like that. And I do think it's very odd that Ralph didn't turn in financial documents, because there's no physical reason that he couldn't. And generally, you can be held in contempt of court. So there's something else going on there, too, because that wouldn't make sense to me. Then they would then say you can stay in the house. Like there's just more than meets the eye, I think. I think they're probably both lying.
Yeah.
I think they're both honestly, I think they're both gross. And I just hope the kids are doing okay. But let's just think the best of Drew, assuming that everything she's telling us is truthful.
Yeah.
You would think she would need a girls' trip.
Yes.
But she's not invited. Porsha's still pissed at Drew. So Porsha's doing this birthday trip in Nashville, literally invited the rest of the cast, minus Drew, plus some other people like her sister, Cynthia, obviously Manetta, but Angela, who has aligned herself with Drew for, as far as I can tell, no other reason than they both have Chicago ties, has decided
I have to say, as a New Yorker, though, I feel like Chicago people are similar. Like, I get that.
Yeah.
There are things about somebody being from the same place as you that can feel familiar, especially because we've noted that Angela is the one without any true connection. So I get that. And Drew, before you learn she's a liar, she presents as a really sweet girl who's going through a hard time.
Absolutely.
She's a Dorit of Atlanta. And Angela's the boss. She's worse.
I'll let you run with your opinion on that one. Drew is so cringe.
I know.
I really do try to present her
And
entirely as
interesting.
possible.
She's so cute. Like her face is. She has
gorgeous.
like they're all gorgeous, but Drew's face specifically has like that like youthful angelic look, which makes it even like more. I don't know what the word is. Annoying that she's such a lying brat.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Because she looks like she's so sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. And I definitely. Yes, I agree. I do think she does have an angelic face. I will agree with you on that. Cocktailers, Mother's Day is coming up, and Caraway is the perfect choice for all the moms in your life. I love to cook. I love cooking with my husband. It's literally one of our things that we love to do just on a night off and pick a recipe and try something new together. And cooking with Caraway's non-toxic cookware really brings me a lot of peace of mind when I'm cooking for us, when we're cooking for our family. And I like to think about this. I don't know if you guys ever do, but I think about this a lot. Like the meals that my mom used to make for me growing up that I would request coming home from college, like what are those meals going to be with my kids? And so I'm very excited thinking about which meals that they ask for again and again and which will kind of become part of our tradition. I love that we're doing that with non-toxic cookware from Caraway. With Caraway, you can quit cooking with toxins. 95% of home goods are made with toxic chemicals like PTFE or Teflon. And 2.5 minutes is all it takes before a nonstick pan overheats and releases toxins. Spring into action with the healthy swap to Caraway. Our favorite cookware set will save you $150 versus buying the items individually. Plus, if you visit carawayhome.com/gossip, you can take an additional 10% off your next purchase. This deal is exclusive for our listeners. So cocktailers, please visit carawayhome.com/gossip or use code GOSSIP at checkout. Caraway, non-toxic cookware made modern. So Angela not only decides to invite Drew, but also knows, like full on, she's taking on Porsha by doing this.
And a production sweetheart is born.
Ha!
Angela takes one for the team. She's willing to take the heat from Porsha to ensure for production that the entire cast is on the trip, which, come on, guys, it's always the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
Here is a prime example of why Amanda and I can't stand Drew. She can never get through an episode without us citing a specific example. Prior to heading off to Nashville, where one would think she would want to be trying to do the best by Porsha, because let's keep in mind, Porsha hired her for her hair company. Porsha has done right by Drew. Drew has decided to film with Dennis and may or may not be sucking his hot dog. So she decides, I'm going to head to Nashville. But before that, I'm going to take my sister Allison. I'm going to stop at Drew's club.
Dennis's club.
Oh, sorry, Dennis's club, to celebrate her recent record deal. This is the most thirsty part of it. Dennis isn't even there. I would take that.
Is anybody else there except for her and her sister?
Didn't look like it.
And the people bringing the drinks?
I took that to mean that Dennis is following Porsha's directive. Let me not film with Drew. Let me not piss off the mother of my child. So we see Drew call him on FaceTime. Like, why is Drew going out of her way to get in this club to promote all things Dennis? She is what the kids these days call a pick-me girl, Amanda.
Yo, Drew, calling him on FaceTime and showing it on camera is still fucking filming with him.
And he could very easily come there if he wanted to. What is he doing? Selling hot dogs?
Oh, I think he's trying to stay out of it.
Yeah.
Maybe, and try. Who knows? But yet another example of Drew just not learning. Or she doesn't give a crap about Porsha, which it could
That's
be
evident. Yeah.
But Angela defends her decision to invite Drew. Porsha flips on Angela and says, I had to rewind it a couple times to understand exactly like what she said. She was like, what kind of glue is on your motherfucking wig? As if the glue like caused maybe like she inhaled the glue or something.
It
made
seeped
her,
into
like,
her brain.
not work. Yeah. I will say, and this is not, we've seen Porsha freak out way more over way less in the past. I feel like Portia's kind of letting Angela off easy.
Yeah, and so then we see Porsha explain to everyone there that Drew's absent because she did some things that were undercover. Her sister Lauren fills in the blanks, adding that Drew allegedly talking to Dennis about more than making music contributed to the rift. And one of Portia's friends flat out says she sucked some dick. Yeah. Porsha doesn't confirm or deny this when a producer asks about the validity of the claim in her confessional. Instead, she inserts that fellatio is Dennis's thing, and it helps him keep his body count balanced. I have to believe at this point that Porsha has solid reason to believe that they're hooking up.
I think so too. I definitely think there's a lot more going on than what Drew is admitting. I just can't figure out why Dennis and his hot dog.
Listen, Drew's a beautiful woman, and she's fawning over him and giving him attention. And Portia's not his wife. They broke up. She's had a marriage. She's going through a divorce. I could see why he would.
No, I'm saying, why is she going for Dennis? I don't get it. I don't find him attractive.
Well, because it's beneficial to her, and she's a user. She's probably paying him in fellatio. For time in the studio and everything. Now, whether he's a music producer or not, he's a man of means. So Studio time is expensive. Hiring producers is expensive. Getting beats is expensive. So he's doing all of that for her on the arm or on the dick. That's the reason.
Yeah.
This whole endeavor would cost her, on the low end, $50,000. I'm sure it's much more than that. I'm just saying. So if she's in a relationship with him and he's willing to foot the bill, then sure, I'll screw over Porsha. It's more money than I'm seeing. Not technically money, but it's more lucrative for me than the hair modeling. Sure, I'll go to his club and market his business on the show, because guess what? That's $15,000 in studio time that I don't have to spend.
Yeah.
She is a maneuverer. She is a get ahead. She is which begs the question, why did she marry Ralph? But I digress.
Yeah, I think everybody wants to know the answer to that one. I've been dying to talk to you about the Valley. I really think it's my favorite Bravo show right now. I am loving it. And this episode.
Well, I'm loving it, but then I do like Summer House, which is like much less toxic, to offset it. It's nice that that works.
Yeah.
This episode was triggering. I would
agree with you.
I saw our girl, shout out to at Your Bish Therapist. She had a lot of great points. And like one of them, I believe it was her who said it, is there should have been a trigger warning like there is for suicide or an eating disorder. Like abusive domestic violence situations, that brings up a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it definitely does. And I think for me, watching that, the beginning of that, what ended up being a knockdown, drag out fight between Brittany and Jax, it started in front of their son.
Yeah.
And that made me really, really sad. And then watching him picking up Cruz and kissing on him and loving on him, and seeing Cruz was pushing away. Like his body language he was trying to get away.
He's scared of him.
Yeah. I think it's, again, we always say we're on the side of the women, but we're always on the side of the child. And his body language said so much. So the beginning of the fight, Jax tells Brittany that she has destroyed his life. He says that she's never paid one bill for the house. And Brittany says, I pay all the bills, still have, even though I haven't been living here, property tax, put down the same amount of money for this house. And then, like, you guys know, this really irks me when anybody says this about anybody, but for him to say this to her, I wanted to throw something at the TV. He says to her, if you were that miserable, you could have left years ago. F that.
And follows it up with, and when I'm gone, I have people watching you. That's a threat. Brittany says on camera, and so we now know that Jax's whole People or Us Weekly or whatever cover about him having a coke addiction was because he was going to be outed by the second or third episode anyway, because Brittany says, you better be honest with the doctors. It is not just your mental health. You are a coke addict. He throws it at her. Oh, like you've never done it. And she said, I'm not saying I've never done it, but you're the addict and I would pass a drug test. Would you? All the ways he blamed her. You ruined my life. I should have left you. I have people watching. And she says, if you don't go, you'll lose your job. That meant he went, not because of his son, not because of any other reason. Then Bravo production said to him, if you don't get in a program and show that you're working on yourself, you can no longer film and you're fired because of the domestic violence.
I don't know. We see that camera in their living room. I'm surprised. I don't know. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if something was caught on film. Like, I get the feeling that Jax,
like, we're just seeing, if they're showing us, if they're telling us that he threw things and everything else, God knows what really went down.
Yeah. And
that's what you're saying.
Yeah. He's got to be essentially backed into a corner before he'll actually do something that he doesn't want to do. And he clearly doesn't want to miss out on being on screen and be on filming. That's what he's so mad about. He's not mad because his life is falling apart. And no, I mean, their child is autistic and thrives, Brittany says, thrives on having like home and routine, and Jax wouldn't get out of the house. Like, that to me says more than we need to know about that whole situation. I do want to talk about the Michelle and Jesse scene because we have some tea we'll get to here in a minute, but I found this really interesting that we're seeing some of the co-parenting stuff. So Michelle comes to Jesse's house when their daughter Isabel is not there to talk about the divorce and the co-parenting. She says Jesse really pushed that we just have a mediator, which we'll talk about again in a second. So Jesse starts out by saying, I redid the co-parenting schedule because you were complaining, meaning Michelle, about it because I went on some trips. And Michelle's, I know you went on 4 trips and they were doing like 2 days on, 2 days off. So as somebody who co-parents, like having access to your schedule ahead of time and having things not changing at the last minute, it's for you as a person. That's when I plan if I'm gonna go see friends or if I go somewhere with my husband or if any of those things and things that you tend to plan months out. So you don't just change the schedule. That's a big thing. And so for him to minimize it is completely gaslighting to me. And the worst thing in that whole conversation is he tells her, then you'll just drop her off with the nanny. And she's, who is the nanny? And he's like, it doesn't matter.
I was confused by that because then he was like, you took my nanny. So
you found the nanny, but then you don't just tell me as a mother or any mother, just drop your kid off with a nanny, and who the nanny is doesn't matter.
I think the moral of the story is, if I'm understanding that conversation correctly, Michelle was essentially saying, if you're going to be on a trip, then just let me have those days.
I think what she was saying too, though, is like, you can't
be on a trip,
assume, that I can just take her, especially last minute, because then it might, because especially if they're doing this 2 days on, 2 days off thing, that messes up the rest of the schedule. Where if she was trying to plan stuff, like, I understand how big of a deal that is. And it's, of course, there's like flexibility and people's flights get canceled and there's always stuff like that happen, but him just not respecting the schedule that he's the one who asked for. And he's also the one, to me, which, by the way, I just want to say before it sounds like I'm way too much Team Michelle here, because I am not. But the co-parenting schedule isn't something that you just decide and that you just change all the time. That is a real thing.
But can I ask a question? I agree with everything you said. I think in this situation, regarding their divorce, I'm not team either of them. I really think that they're trying to leverage their daughter against each other. I see them both doing it. I think it's dirty work. I think it's unnecessary. With that said, when he said the thing about the holidays and she's like, this is my year, and he's like, I'm not going to have her in November or December, that seems like an unfair arrangement. I would think, and the arrangements that I'm familiar with are like, okay, in 2025, you'll get Thanksgiving, and then I'll get Christmas. Or even better, like you'll get Thanksgiving, and typically people have that Friday off, right? And then you get the day after, and then I'm going to have Christmas Eve this year, and you'll have Christmas Day. And next year, I'll have Thanksgiving, you'll have the day after, you'll have Christmas Eve. I don't think it sounds right that one parent gets all the holidays of 2025 and one parent gets them the next year. That seems...
I would agree, unless the last year that's the way it was. And Michelle didn't get her.
And maybe that was a matter of him being difficult, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. Yeah. And so we don't know what happened
at some point,
before, but yes,
that's the problem. And this is why I don't think they're going to make headway, because, and you know this as somebody who's been through it, at some point, somebody has to be the one to give in. And I don't see either of them being that person.
No. And this
like somebody has to eat shit and say, okay, last year you had it, but going forward, we'll do. You get Thanksgiving, I get Christmas. Like somebody has to.
It's why they both need representation.
It's why mediation will never work, and it's a very stupid thing for people.
You can both have a lawyer and still work with mediation. That is absolutely a thing. It's just like you need to have. I feel like it was manipulative of Jesse to say, let's not get lawyers. We'll just do this ourselves and use a mediator. Because if they fight this way over every little thing, like. The thing that is really helpful with the divorce lawyer is they've been there, done that. They've seen how other couples have been able to figure this out. So there's all different ways that you can switch up holiday schedules and Christmas and all of those things that, and as my lawyer had pointed out to me too, just remember anything you're like, it's going to be the opposite for you for the next year, right? Because you generally alternate on that kind of stuff.
But honestly, Michelle knows exactly who she's dealing with. So why did she say yes to the mediator? I would be like, no, I'm getting an attorney.
I think some people are scared because it is scary to hire a divorce lawyer because you don't know how long it's going to take and you pay them a lot of money. I think she's just probably also young enough that she doesn't have a lot of friends who have been through this,
right?
Advise her to be like, no, you need, even if you guys are going to mediate this, which is what a lot of couples do, you still need representation. You still need somebody who is just representing you, who can talk to the other lawyer, and some of the like detail stuff, like they can figure out that you don't need to be involved in.
That makes sense.
But I do think it's interesting that they start talking about Jesse's girlfriend. So she is not on the show. Michelle tells him that the girlfriend went up to her, but also went up to their friends and said that she was sleeping with other people. Jesse's, okay, let's call her, or let's call whichever friend. So they call Sheena, and Jesse very calmly, because you can tell, like, he does not think Sheena's going to confirm it, but Sheena does confirm that not only that Jesse's girlfriend said this, but that she said who she was sleeping with.
Except that our Valley source, who, by the way, as you guys know, everything they've shared, we've seen.
Yeah.
Told me that, and I'm not sure why. And again, editing, we don't know. But what she said was, in this situation where Sheena's saying, yes, she told me she was sleeping with the Baywatch guy, they said Sheena's being Sheena for airtime, that Jesse's girlfriend was telling her, they were having a conversation at some point, I guess. I don't really know why, but she was telling her everyone she's dated in LA. So this girl, side note, lives in Orange County. She actually was interviewed to be on Orange County a couple of years ago. And then she started going through a divorce because she's recently divorced with a little one as well, even younger than Jesse and Michelle's daughter. So she obviously didn't go on the show. So she was telling Sheena everyone she's dated in LA. She named 5 people and even said, oh yeah, they were all trash. Jesse was actually there with them. So next episode, according to my source, they're going to talk about it again and bring it up at the pool party. So maybe they say this. That's a bullshit story. I was there. You were asking her if she dated the Baywatch guy or whatever guy, and she said she did. It's not current. So let's watch and see how it plays out. But and maybe in that moment, Jesse didn't know that conversation had happened. And so then when he spoke to the girlfriend, was like, remember when I was talking to Sheena at that pool party at Janet's house, and she asked me if I dated, and I told her, yeah, and he's trash. And she somehow flipped that into me sleeping with him currently. Which, Sheena.
I could see that happening, because I do have to agree with Jesse when he says it seems like Michelle is actively trying to hurt Jesse with that news, because again, two things. One, if it were me, I would definitely not. I would have kept that information to myself. I wouldn't have said anything to my ex-husband. I would have been like, let him figure that out on his own. But again, that's
to make him angry at you while you're trying to work out your parenting schedule.
But
This
it's
is what I
also, like,
mean.
it doesn't matter
When I say
right?
it's
Like,
both of
who's
right, it doesn't
it's
matter.
up to them unless it starts to affect your children, and then there's
It doesn't matter except that it gives Jesse further reason to be pissy with her and vindictive and not cooperative with the co-parenting schedule. So let's skip that. If this girl is banging Zac Efron from Baywatch or whoever, I'm joking, I don't know that it's Zac Efron, whoever it is, then let him find that out and let them break up, but let me not be involved so that I can keep my... If you're so happy with your new boyfriend, I don't care. It does seem... Listen, and I get Jesse being jealous of her new boyfriend because Jesse says, I didn't want the divorce. She said I was a bad husband. She cheated. She left me. She didn't want to be married to me.
Yeah.
Michelle has a lot of jealousy for somebody who didn't want to be with him. It's maybe she's mad he moved on.
Yeah. I think those two really love to fight.
Yeah.
And so there's
must have been really wild makeup sex.
Probably. But I would, and I think I pointed this out before, the fact that Jesse's girlfriend does not want to be on the show, and we'll talk more about that in a minute, that to me gives her a little more credibility in my mind.
100%.
Yeah.
Than Aaron, who's at every envelope they're opening in the Valley.
Exactly. So here is some of that tea that has only been on Cocktail Party. So you guys are getting another exclusive. It says this. Jesse's girlfriend is pissed. She's threatening to sue Michelle. Allegedly, Michelle and Janet were reaching out to all these people in the OC trying to get dirt on her. Michelle was texting Jesse's girlfriend that she's going to ruin her life and hurt the girlfriend's custody with her child as long as she dates Jesse. She sent her lawyer, but then at the finale party, which we think they might have meant.
No, I checked. It was the finale party.
Oh, it was at the finale party.
I'll have additional to add to this after.
Okay. Finale party. Michelle and her boyfriend were allegedly drunk and pushed Jesse's girlfriend. Apparently, production opened up an investigation on it.
So it was the finale party, and it was Michelle who pushed the girlfriend. So it wasn't a man pushing a woman. Not that anybody should push anybody, but they were very drunk. And apparently Jesse, according to the source, Jesse's girlfriend said to production, drop the investigation. I don't want to make anything worse. She was clearly drunk. I'm not scared of her. I don't think she's going to try to hurt me, that kind of thing. But now, with Michelle still doing stuff to the girlfriend, whose name is Lacey, apparently Lacey is, you know what? Open that investigation up because Michelle is doing vengeful things behind the scenes, according to this source. This is what the source is saying. Now, it could be that the source isn't Team Michelle, so it could be they're leaning more towards the other side. I guess we're going to hear if there was a pushing in this stuff as everything else that they've shared has come out, like such as Jesse calling Michelle a hooker. We saw that in the trailer. Like all these things they told us that is in Cocktail Party. Guys, Cocktail Party, my treat, $5 a month. The Valley tea is freaking insane. Not even to mention the mom talk and the Vanderpump Villa and...
I know.
Oh, by the way, total side note, over a year ago, before we ever met Bronwyn on Salt Lake City, every single cocktailer knew about her first husband. That stuff, a year and a half later, is suddenly on the internet.
Yeah.
Cocktailers knew first. Best $5 you ever spent. Anyway,
I think the other thing, and I just shake my head at this, but again, this is why these people are good on reality TV. Like, how dumb. Sorry, but if you have a possible custody situation, why would you be drunk around your ex-husband?
You know what is?
They're so dumb.
There's most reality stars have this sense of entitlement that allows them to do these things.
Yeah.
But I will say,
the world
like,
is their stage.
Yes. Yeah. And if Michelle was drunk, it could be that she like was yelling at her and stumbled into her, or maybe the girl was pointing her face. Like I do not see Michelle as somebody who's violent. I certainly wouldn't. I could see her do it gossiping and trying to spread behind her back and making threats and stuff. I don't mean threats. If you stay with him, I'll make your life difficult. But I don't think she's trying to beat anybody up. Although
it's so odd to me that Michelle would be reaching out. Stay out of. You're right. You are totally right. Like, she is jealous. Like,
because she can't believe that he moved on. She expected him to. I don't know if she expected him, but the fact that he isn't is causing her to have this reaction, and she can't help it because she is happy with this new boyfriend, but and I have feelings on all of this. We have all season. But so as it's been discussed, Jesse's girlfriend has refused to film. Production is trying very hard to get her to come to the reunion because she is such a big part of the story. As we posted previously, and we just spoke about, there is an investigation that she basically was like, don't bother, and now apparently is bother. So I guess we'll see. They are filming again. You heard it here first. This is not posted anywhere but Bravo and Cocktails. They're filming the Valley reunion in 2 weeks because of Kristen and Nia's pregnancies. Makes total sense.
Yeah.
Also, some tea that I posted today that's interesting. Michelle's boyfriend demanded a check. The new cast gets a salary, okay? He gets half of what they get. The OGs get double what, like, when I say new, I mean Janet, Michelle, Jason.
Right.
OGs get double. They get what they get. Aaron is getting half. And Lala and Sheena were not offered contracts. They get appearance fees. The next question is, does Sheena's phone call count? I'm sure she doesn't do anything for free, nor should she.
Yeah. Like you said, this fighting, it's going to go on forever if they don't get some representation. Kristen and Nia were on Watch What Happens Live this week, both just looking radiant. And like both, I think they must have coordinated because they were both wearing
cute
yellow. They both had a lot to say, or no nice things to say, I guess, about Janet, which
I just want to say, take a minute to say, I think as fans, we're all fans of Vanderpump, and we all know Kristen for so many years. And I love seeing her not only pregnant, but also evolved and grown up and in her way and happy. And she could have went so much lower than she went at Watch What Happens Live. And it's such growth that I really do. Like, he kept joking, you're an empath, but I really do feel like she's matured a lot. She's grown a lot. She's in a healthy relationship. I know last season you and I were joking on the pod that he's icky or whatever, but obviously he's a good fit for her. Right. She's happy. She feels settled. And she should call out Janet and anyone else's bad behavior, but certainly she is a improved Kristen Downey.
Absolutely. And Nia definitely at least has come off on camera as the girl who never has a bad thing to say about anybody, and called out Janet on a lot of the kind of shady games and didn't have a nice thing to say about Janet, which actually all makes sense because we got some info from a source that said, so there's a nasty rumor circulating about Danny touching Jasmine's fiance inappropriately, and Janet was trying to make it a storyline. Nia found out that it was Janet who was pushing the stuff about Danny when cameras were up all summer. Nia hates Janet. She won't even speak to her or look at her in a room.
I mean, Amanda texted me about this because we haven't got any emails about Danny being handsy or like what I always say about the Summer House cast and the Vanderpump Rules cast and the Southern Charm cast and the Valley cast. What makes it so good is these people are out and about, right? Danny is at daycare pickup. Danny is at Gymboree or whatever the people are doing these days. If Danny was one of these guys who was handsy and flirty, and we would have gotten emails the same way we do about a lot of other people. And we've never gotten anything like that. I haven't received that from sources or DMs.
Yeah.
If something like that were happening a lot, like we would have heard about it.
For sure.
I think it's complete bullshit.
Yeah.
And I did a Q&A the other day when I was traveling, and somebody said to me, do you think, and I hope I'm right about this, do you think that something about Danny and Nia seems off? And my response, because I took a minute to think about it, I don't think so. And I was like, and I said, I know what it is. Danny was an actor or is an actor. Nia was a pageant. I think they both had hopes of making it in Hollywood as an actor, maybe in Nia's case as a presenter on award shows, like that sort of thing. And then they found themselves married with children. This presented itself. It's great opportunity if you're in the business, right? And it's a way to feed their family. But I don't think, and there are some people like Janet, like Michelle, who want to be on reality TV and want to get in the mud and want to do all of this, like Jesse, like Jax, right? And I feel like Nia and Danny, this is like a plan B or C. And so that's, if something feels off, it's because they're not 100% comfortable sharing in the way that other people are.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think also, though, guys, like they are in the freaking thick of it. Like, I know they make a million jokes out of it, like the license plate that says 3 under 3, and now they're going to have 4 under 5 or whatever it is when their next child is born. But like, you're not getting a full night of sleep.
No.
You're not playing, like,
You're not getting a full meal. You're not getting a hot
meal.
meal. You're not getting a hot cup of coffee. You're not getting shit.
Yeah.
You're not getting sex.
And so, like,
she must have good fertility because she must have got pregnant in one pop because there's just not a lot of time for sex when you have those little, and there's 3 of them.
I know. I'm sure next season we'll see him get a vasectomy.
She said that on Watch What Happens Live, actually.
Oh, she did?
Yeah.
Oh, I missed that. We could go on and on about the Valley, but just a quick post. One more post I wanted to share before we move on. It says, Jax may be jaxed. His bar may be on the rocks. Not a good look to be decked out in his business outfit while high on cocaine and screaming at his family. Also, he's publicly discussed staying away from the bar to focus on sobriety. What was a fun draw for VPR fans may now be too dark to enjoy for a while. They still have the space. It's very possible that a rebrand is coming with a different face to draw people in. Even when it first opened, it was struggling and hours weren't consistent.
Obviously, this makes sense. This isn't a shocking email. My question is, how do they bring Jax back on the show? This is dark. We said it earlier. It probably should have been a trigger warning.
Yeah.
So he went to the 30-day treatment. Rock bottom for him.
Rehab, which, by the way, never called it rehab.
Right.
So it was it was not rehab. The first one.
I have to say, and again, the cameras weren't there, but I do get the sense that when he wasn't filming, he was better. I don't think he was partying as much. He's always going to be a narcissist. I understand this is his income. I just don't know how they continue showing and supporting him when in real time, although he has said he's sober, he went to another treatment program. He was just on television, or maybe not television. Maybe it was like Instagram, an interview at I assume the premiere, whatever it was. He was high as a kite, looked to be.
Oh, and there was the time that it was an Instagram thing where Lori Kay was like, get off.
Yeah, hello. I just think that it comes to a point that they have to pull him. And I don't think they'd mind. I think he's probably a nightmare with production. He's expensive. And they have this huge cast. So,
yeah, I don't think we need him. I will definitely watch without him. I do think this is another situation where Bravo and the production company have got to take a real look at what's going on. And I'll just leave it at that. Let's see. We have a little time. So let's talk Summer House. So we see Schwartz come on this week, which is interesting because I'm watching with my husband and he's, wait, why is he on this show? And I'm like, all the crossover stuff, it doesn't always make sense, but they are legitimately friends.
Yeah.
And the timing is great because Tom Schwartz also just launched his podcast, which hit.
By the way, you just popped off and popped right back on. We're still recording. Yeah, I heard like chew and then chew.
Oh, strange. Okay. I think everything looks okay on my side.
Yeah, me too.
So Schwartz's podcast that just launched, number 51.
Which is huge.
That's huge.
That's huge.
Yeah. He had Katie on, and we also this week have seen that Schwartz, Shep, Frasier from Below Deck, and TJ from...
And randomly Tyson Beckford was with them in a picture. Yeah.
Which he is very handsome.
Oh,
they're all filming or shooting something we're hearing it's for People's Most Eligible Bachelor. So Schwartz is definitely having his little moment right now.
You know, I listened to his pod with Katie and it was good. Something about him is endearing, even though during Scandal, I think we were all very angry at him. We were turned off. His divorce, the fake dating with Rachel. But listening to the pod, he seems genuinely happy for Katie. You can tell he still loves her, but he wants her to be happy. And he knew that he really wasn't capable of giving her what she deserved. So that kind of brings me around to liking him again. He hasn't been in our face. He hasn't been obnoxious. And you look at Jax and he seems like an Eagle Scout.
Yeah.
And everyone in the Bravo world loves him, right? He walks into Summer House. Everyone hugs him. He's really just like this sweet guy, dopey at times. But so the conversation with Kyle in the kitchen. So Kyle's talking about, and this was like a storyline, right? Obviously, I think it's something Kyle's really pursuing. What's perfect? Talk to Schwartz. Schwartz did it when he was with Katie, the sperm testing your fertility. So Kyle goes to Schwartz, so were you guys trying? And he's, no, this was about a year before we split. And so Kyle gets like this worried look and he says, do you think that was an indication like that your relationship was on the rocks? And Schwartz kind of reflects and he's like, yeah, I mean, we were together 13 years and we talked about it, but we tested everything, but we never really got around to trying.
Yeah.
And then Kyle quickly snaps it to it. And for us, it's not a matter of if, it's just when. And I'm like, is this foreshadowing? I don't mean that it's intentionally done, but
no,
that flashback with Katie and Schwartz, the energy there felt like Kyle and Amanda. And this is on the heels of, I mean, it's spread all over. I got an email, but it's all over that Kyle was at Coachella. Apparently his sponsor, whomever that was, pissed. He was incoherent. In the lobby of a hotel, they tossed him in the PR girl's room because they were like trying to manage the damage of what was going on. How long is Amanda going to tolerate this party boy? Like, I get she's not ready for a baby. That's one thing. But she's not staying out every night till 5 a.m. And as a matter of fact, in the clip at the end of last night's show, he looks concerned and is talking about wanting a baby. And she says something like, I can't take care of another thing, which leads me to believe that like she spends so much time managing her marriage. Does that make sense?
No, I absolutely think that could be the reason she's not ready for a baby. It's not so much her as being worried that she's going to get into a situation where we've seen other people, Jax and Brittany, I would say, pretty similar, where the partying is more important than being home for the child. And Kyle starts playing music at whatever time it is after they get back from their boys' night. And he's like, oh, I accidentally put it in the speaker in our room. It's like, why?
First of all, could you imagine? I put myself into that situation.
Yeah.
And not that age is a thing because Amanda's younger, but the fact that Kyle's my age I have to laugh at. So I'm like, and then I picture my husband who's my age and I picture him like just being so thoughtless to wake up the whole house. Like
the whole house.
He bothers me.
I agree.
More. And just all the emails of him out till 5 a.m. and spotted and like whatever he's doing. I'm not even getting into that. That's not my investigation. I'm not his wife. I'm not interested in breaking up anyone's marriage or whatever. Right. I just have to say, and I have to say this, Amanda's sitting there on the after show slamming Craig. I'm not saying Craig's without fault. I don't mind if Sierra wants to take a hit. Lindsay, Gabby, but it would be like Brittany married to Jax slamming Schwartz. It doesn't really work.
Yeah, that is so true. That is such a good point.
It makes you think, am I missing something?
Yeah. And guys, sometimes and this is where reality TV, I think, is a good and a bad thing for some of these couples because it's really hard to see things sometimes when you're just in it.
But when it's 5 seasons later that you're married and your husband is still behaving the same exact way.
Yeah. And you're watching and people like us are saying it.
And this isn't a reality TV thing. And it's not a reality TV thing because he wasn't on reality TV at Coachella. He's not on reality TV when he's DJing events in different cities and staying out to all hours of the night.
Yeah.
That is his lifestyle. So even if Amanda and Kyle leave the show, which they won't unless they're not asked back, his lifestyle is this. And so even if they're off the show, he's always going to pop up like Schwartz does. He's always going to be in that Bravo sphere, but he'll also have the notoriety of being Kyle Cook and being a Summer House star for so many years and DJing. And so he's 43. He's turning this summer. So what are we looking at? Are we looking at 50 years old, him stopping this? And it would, listen, and I want to be clear about this. If Amanda were a girl, like there are, who was a partier herself and like this was their lifestyle. Like I know couples who party like this that are my age. The thing for me is that only one person in the marriage is interested in doing this.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure people that like it's different than like
I know what you're saying.
Having a husband who's obsessed with fishing or golf.
Yeah.
My husband loves sports and loves watching sports and I don't love it as much. But it's very different when you're like out. It just affects your whole day. Like the next day, that person, regardless, is hungover. They're sleeping later. Like it's two different lifestyles.
It is. It definitely is. I agree. Do we have time?
I feel like we have so much and we'll get to, because I want to see next week's because we want to talk about Jesse and Lexi. I'm proud of Lexi. Are you proud of Lexi?
I feel like we saw a whole different side of her
girl.
this episode. And I think this is just a good point to always remember is we see what the cameras let us see.
Yes.
You know, and when she was talking about how he FaceTimes her all the time and that she like, I'm like, that would annoy the shit out of me. I'm just trying to live my life and go to work and do these things. And like, that would drive me crazy. I'm like, I'm glad that we're finally getting to see her side of it.
100%. I feel like we were duped, but we're going to get to it because I want to see next week's episode because in the clip, kind of looks like she ends it with him. She's, you know what? This is done. So I want to get to that before we I want to break it all down. Let's break it all down. We love you guys.
Thanks, guys.
What's up, cocktailers? We want to thank you, as always, for listening to Cocktails and Gossip. Because of you, we've hit some amazing milestones, had some hilarious conversations, and have grown a truly amazing community. If you haven't already followed our podcast, hit the follow button in the top right of your Apple Podcast player, the follow button under the show logo on Spotify, or the subscribe button on Google Podcasts. We thrive on you, our audience. So make sure to tell all your gossip-loving friends about us too. And if you want to get all the tea, join our membership cocktail party by going to bravoandcocktails.com/join. Our members get access to the exclusive tea we post, the weekly podcast without ads, plus another additional bonus podcast every week. And of course, members also get to join us on our monthly live cocktail party Zoom, where we talk about the latest tea and even share tea that's just too hot to put in writing. Last, but maybe best, our members get access to the Cocktail Party Discord, where you can chat with Amanda, me, and all of the other cocktailers as well. There are always some great convos and hilarious comments happening in Discord. Thank you guys so much for listening. We appreciate you.